Back down the mountain and south returns us to Cedarville, a place we have long been looking forward to exploring.
You might see Cedarville on a map and wonder what you might do in a town of fewer than 1,000 people, but it doesn't take long for this town to charm a visitor. One of the longtime staples of Cedarville is the Country Hearth, where owner Janet Irene has been cooking up meals for over 3 decades.
I opened this in 1985. When I opened, I was just a little donut shop because when I said, what am I going to do? I thought, well, I don't know, but I know how to make donuts and cinnamon rolls, and so I'll do that. It's definitely an old-fashioned country atmosphere.
That atmosphere continues down the street at the Wholesome Goodness Company Mercantile, where Mikey Royer provides a cornucopia of country-themed decor. Everywhere I look, I'm just falling in love with something.
Yeah, handmade cards and crocheted items, handmade soaps, handmade lotions, a traveling door-to-door shoe salesman's sample box.
Oh, are you serious?
That's very cool.
Well, we try and have it set up like a home from anywhere between the 1800s and early 1960s. You know, the dining room and the kitchen and coffins.
You heard that right. Mikey makes coffins, Old West coffins to be exact, and they are custom made. Everybody does eventually need a coffin,
At some point,
right?
you're kind of going to want to need one, yeah. It's something that really touches my heart. I feel like it's an honor that I'm trusted with, kind of providing somebody's last good night. Just old-fashioned, simple pine boxes. They need to be affordable, and so that's why we started doing it. Memory foam in the bottom.
It's beautiful.
And then we have a lady locally that crochets just gorgeous lace, and so I like to put some of her handmade lace.
Handmade lace.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, isn't that beautiful? Oh, the toe pincher has become the most popular, and it's called that because it's narrow at the toe.
So is that more traditional?
Yeah, these are like the ones you'd see in the old Western movies, leaning up against the wall of a mercantile. Kind of old-fashioned.
Did you paint the lilacs?
Is
that
did.
you?
Yep, my attempt at lilacs. I like to find out a little about the person it's going to be for, kind of make it special to them. And I bet we've had 1,000 people or more outside stop and hop into that coffin and get their picture taken.
I did.
Yep, a lot of people do.
Well, before you get around to using that coffin, here's plenty of other stuff to be had in Cedarville. Across the street from the Country Hearth sits the Kressler and Bonner Building, the center of business in town since 1885. It has some classic features to it, like this hand-operated elevator.
This was considered the most magnificent building north of Sacramento when it was built in 1884. And you consider that all of the bricks used in this building were made here. This used to be a mercantile store, and they would bring in merchandise from the big cities. In fact, when I bought the building years ago, I got the record books of how much everything cost. And they were all written in the old script. This was a pretty high-class building, so they had to have fancy doors. If you look at this door, most people would say that's a beautiful oak door. But if you look a little closer, you'll see that that door is painted. Plain pine doors painted using feathers. It's called feather painting. People who just walk by think it's an oak door.
Yeah, I would have thought that, and then I realized it's smooth.
Each mark done by a feather.
It's a work of art inside little frames.
You can see that there's respect for history here in Cedarville, as evidenced by Louisville, a collection of historic buildings collected from all over the area and named for Louis Vermillion, who started the project.
There are places to go and things to do all day in Cedarville.
More modern attractions include this brand new art gallery, Studio 540, opened by owner and artist Nick Karash.
You can enjoy your morning coffee at the Vault, a meal at Woody's, and a nightcap at Whalen's. But certainly the most well-known attraction is the Surprise Valley Hot Springs, where visitors can take their best shot at the fishing ponds, and most of the rooms offer a personal hot tub and views of the dark skies. For us, it's where we end our day, with the promise of some brand new territory ahead of us tomorrow.